All right, I'm going to save time as I wandered out into... I'm at the Jones Trail now, through the wonders of the internet and the pause button. I have transported myself from my hotel at Vernal, Utah. I'm now on the Elk Creek and decided to pull a great one himself and do a little bit of podcasting from the nature trail, because honest to God, I don't think anybody's out in this valley. I saw one fisherman. And if you'd like to, Atham, look this up. The Jones Creek Hatchery, or the Jones Trail. It is to the north, more east-northeast of Vernal. The trail inevitably follows the Jones Creek into Dinosaur National Monument, which hits the Yampa/Green Rivers, where, if I do this right, I should be able to see the peak I was at across the river when I come to the mouth. But there's a little spur of a trail here that goes up to Elk Creek Falls at half a mile. I'm like, okay. And I said, can I do it? Can I make it? Because then it's another 1.8 miles down to the Green River. You guys can hear this. This is already a waterfall I'm here at now. I don't know if you can hear it, but this can't be it. This wasn't even half a mile. This wasn't even a quarter mile. You know what? This isn't it. I'm going to go climb up these rocks. Whoop. Oh, fuck. And I'm finding out ribs are an amazing thing, frankly. Ribs, they're part of your core, and damn it, if you hurt those, you can't do much of anything. And so I had guilt and shame for not being able to do another serious mountain hike like I'd like. And so I'm nursing it on this little... It was going to be a 7-mile round-trip hike with really no elevation gain, maybe 200 feet. I'm like, I can afford a mile detour. Oh, here's regular trail. All right. These are just rapids. And without ribs, or with impaired ribs, bruised or cracked, I don't know what they are yet. Man, I cannot run. I tried lifting weights yesterday. Remember when I was all excited on the previous segment about Anytime Fitness? Yeah, that went out like a fart in church. And I am pretty crippled. But I can walk a little bit at a slow pace. And so I'm doing this nice, easy trail. Got some beautiful pictures. Honest to God, I don't know why. Well, I know why the American East was settled first. That's where people landed. But I don't know why the West isn't more populated. This is just insanely beautiful. I know you guys over in New York. You people who never leave your plantation. You've never been out here. All you people in Michigan and they have good values. They have good schools and good values. Yeah, fuck you. Fuck you and your children and the poor man you're forcing to stay up in the frozen tundra because your parents are there. I want to live closer to my parents. Remember all the fun we had in San Diego and Denver and Seattle, and it was warm in Florida. Remember those fun times in Texas? Yes, we're going to move up to Ely, Minnesota, because they got good schools. I miss my parents. Fuck your parents, by the way. Anyway, do a little bit of an economist action. Not to mention test the voice recorder on my new phone, so I do apologize if the audio sucks. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do the second segment. Because tomorrow, it's all day on the bike. All day on the bike. I got to go from Vernal all the way to Vegas. Looks like it's about 8 hours. On a bike, you got to add, I'd say an extra 10 to 15%. Because you got to stop more. Bikes don't have the range that cars do. Most people don't have the stamina to ride long distances in motorcycles as they do cars. And so you got to pull over more frequently. I go until my tank's about to be empty. You just take too damn long otherwise. And especially when sun is a factor. because you don't want to ride at night, especially out in the hinterlands, because that's when the deer like to play on the street. You kind of want to make your progress and make your time. I even not during the daytime, I almost hit a coyote and wild turkeys. Take that, great one. I know you do your little adventure or nature exploring. You ever see a coyote and wild turkeys within a mile of each other? Me and my motorcycle almost did. Look at this. Okay, things quickly got Indiana Jonesy in the jungle and all this foliage. Now this is all uphill now. Somebody came through here. I could see their tracks. Aaron Clarey, experienced woodman. How'd you get your experience? I just hiked in the woods. I just went around. I just checked shit out. I don't know. How do you do it? I was never a Boy Scout. Anyway, I want to talk to you today about petroglyphs. This is also what prompted me to do the podcast from out here, in addition to saving time, because it just dawned on me. So you go down Jones Trail, and they say, hey, there's petroglyphs, or pictographs. You say, geez, Captain, that sounds familiar. What are those? Well, if you remember your 4th grade geology or whatever, the Indians of various tribes, especially in the Southwest, would chisel or paint the side of walls with just different pictures. I don't know why they call some petroglyphs, why they call some pictographs. I don't know the etymology on that, but in any case, there's like a dark shade of rock, and if you just chisel, a millimeter underneath, it's lighter, and you could make patterns and pictures. That's what the Indians did. And so, I think these things are cool as hell. Minnesota, it's too moist, too swampy, too wet, that if there was pictographs, or maybe in caves, you don't see them. But they're much more prominent out west. And even though they're more common than you think, it's kind of like fossils. When you find your first one, you're like, oh my God, I'm fucking Indiana Jones, man. And then you go to Herbert and Ethel's fossil shop on the corner, and they got fossils that blows yours out of the wall. Water. Jones Hole Island Park. Here's a sign. Island Park, 4.7 miles. Wonderful hiking out here. Oh, it's just beautiful. So there's petroglyphs. And they tell you, there's signs, there's pictures. Hey, look, the petroglyphs are located here. Please don't touch the human oils. Ruin them, Those things are anywhere between 900 and 1,300 years old. And so it's like your own private and free museum. And so I was like, oh boy, petroglyphs. It's like adding a cherry to a sundae you were going to have anyway. Oh boy, cherry and sprinkles, petroglyphs. Oh my God, is this really the trail? Shit. This is going to hurt. Can you hear the running water? I have the fjord. Or forge, fjord. I'm going to slip if I step on that rock. This is where my feet always get wet. That'd be my Indian name. Wet Feet Clarey. I always manage to fall in the stream, no matter how careful. No matter how perfectly balanced my ballroom dancing skills have given me. Always manage to slip on a rock and get at least 1 foot in the stream. And then it's soppy wet the entire hike. I managed that one fine. Anyway, so there's petroglyphs, and I hike, and there's a sign, and there they are. I take the little detour, walk right up to them. Beautiful. Beautiful. Not just in their simplicity and art form, they weren't Michelangelo, but there's like a yak or a goat, and there's a couple people with spiked hairdos and some patterns. I think it was a boat, maybe. And that unto itself was cool enough. But then you're thinking like, wow, man, in this case, it was the Fremont Indians, 1,000+ years ago, chiseling this stuff into the side of the wall. And I'm like, wow, over 1,000 years ago, way before Columbus, even before Leif Erikson, there's, Bob and Fred. Yeah, hey, what are you doing, Bob? Nothing, Fred. Hey, you want to go chisel some stuff into a rock and leave like kind of a gift for the future people, of which we have no idea about because they're clear across the other side of the planet. Matter of fact, we don't even have a concept of a planet. We really just believe in the rain god and the moon god and the sun god. But do you want to just like leave this here? Kind of leave our mark? And oh yeah, sure, let's do that, Fred. And they did. I'm very happy they did, because then I wonder, like, wow, what was it like back here, what were the Indians doing? Do they have any descendants? Like, chances are pretty good that far back, assuming they were, like Terrence Popp, what does he say? Throwing sperm around like a watering hose or whatever, sprinkler system. So there may actually be some Indians who are descended from those guys. And it's just kind of cool. Like, wow, look at, how... And it brings into the whole concept of human history. Now, I've lamented about this before. I wish the Indians had a written language, because then they'd have a history. All we got is kind of, stories passed on down, which get morphed, and you don't really have time dates or stamps. And there's just no history. So it's, basically when Columbus and the Spanish come over, you start getting a little bit of history. But it's so cool. So I think these are really cool. I don't think they're really cool. They are really cool. How many of you guys have seen petroglyphs, huh? How many of you seen them? Not in a museum, out in the natural, out in the wild. How many of you have seen them? You've only seen pictures of them. So I think this is really cool. Now, this goes back several years ago. So I have the varmint, who was much littler back then. And I show the kid, I'm like, hey, take a look at these pictures. Yeah. I'm like, what? What? What do you mean? Meh. What? These are at least 1,000 years old. There's a mystery surrounding them. You don't see this. This isn't going to McDonald's. This is some cool, awesome thing. How can you not think this is the most coolest thing ever? And not just her, but other young kids. Hey, look at this. And it's not they got their heads buried in the iPhone, or they're watching their movies or playing their video game. They don't care. Fossil, same thing. Hey, look at this thing. 100 million years old. 200 million, I don't know, I didn't look it up. But it's really old. This was found in the desert, and it's a water creature. It's got a shell. So that meant this was water up here. Don't you find that kind of interesting? I don't know what the hell happened to kids. Again, don't want to sound like old man Clarey. Hey, don't know what happened to these kids. But no, seriously, what the fuck happened to these kids? I remember being a kid, I'd be ecstatic to find a fossil. I'd be shitting my pants if I could see a petroglyph. I'd be just like, heck, even the hiking, just like a different bit of terrain to see something different. These kids, you show them mountains, Mount Rushmore, waterfalls, all this natural beauty, or ancient human-made beauty. And there's something like the engine isn't turning over. Their starter isn't working. And I understand if school has beaten the ever-living shit out of any desire or happiness they may have had, any kind of curiosity or interest to be piqued. I get it when teachers just beat the ever-living crap of that out of you. But I had never been so browbeaten, beat down, bored, that if I saw a fossil or I had the opportunity to see a petroglyph, I would have totally availed myself of it. Where the hell is this trail going? And even then, that if anything, it just made those things that much more interesting, because you would never study anything as cool as fossils or petroglyphs. Of course, the fossils would always bring up the issue when you talk to going to Christian school. The teachers are always, hey, how come there's fossils in South Dakota that are made of water? They're water fossils. Well, that's because of the flood, Noah's Ark's flood. Oh, hey, by the way, about the Indians, is it kind of unfair that if Jesus was over in the Eastern Hemisphere and they're stuck here 2 oceans away in the Western Hemisphere. They didn't know about Jesus or salvation or God. Don't you think are they all going to go to hell? Seems kind of unfair. They're quite innocent, I'd imagine. The Lord works in mysterious ways. Stop looking at rocks. Stop studying archaeology. Matter of fact, you guys are kind of assholes. I think you guys should go to hell instead of these innocent Indians 1,000 years ago chiseling into the rock over on Jones Creek. But it's just kind of sad and defeating because half the excitement, if not more, I guess, is you want to share it with somebody. You know, going riding motorcycles with Sergeant Greg and Adam. That was really cool. Going hiking with my buddy Denver Ben and the Great One. That's awesome. Hiking and riding motorcycles are fun on their own, but they're a lot more fun when you got somebody else. And then here's this discovery. And, you know, I think I'd have a captive audience with kids. Hey, look at this. Nothing. They couldn't care less. The 3-year-old, my niece, she's interested in everything. That's the complete opposite. Everything is new and novel to her. So, again, if she wants to go look at ducks or throw rocks at a pond, that's just the greatest and most awesomest thing ever. On par with flying an F-16. It's all new to her. So you can't use her as a judge of character. She'd just be interested in it. I don't think she'd actually appreciate its rarity. I don't think she doesn't understand the concept of history and age and fossils and all that other stuff. But once they get a little bit older, 8, 9, 10, hey, look at this. You understand the concept of 1,000,000 or 1,000? This was chiseled in here 1,000 years ago. This thing is so old that tens of millions of years ago, it turned into stone. That's how old this thing is. And all you get is, meh. Kind of sad. I don't know what would make the kids excited nowadays. What would honestly make those kids excited? All right, I think I'm off the trail. I'm probably not off the trail. You get out into these western outbacks. I should probably mark myself so I know where I'm going. Although I just have to go downstream and I'll get back to the mainstream. If you go out to these more remote, like I had to drive 40 miles from a small town to get to this trailhead. And so you don't have, this as much traffic to make the trails as clearly marked. So half the time you're like, am I even on the trail? And you're like, oh yeah, here's a sign. Like, okay, I'm not lost. Oh, all right, that's it. Thank you for going hiking with Clarey. I hope the audio on this is pretty good, because I'm not going to re-record it again. And now I'm just going to listen to the Beckloff Adam Piggott, the Great One himself, Joe Susha. I tell you guys, that's one of the greatest things to do. You ever get into hiking or adventuring, just download a ton of podcasts and go out hiking. Nothing really beats it. All right, we'll see you kids later. Oh, where's the thing?